Hello there. We're gonna start the day off right, and this is for good reasons. Hopefully not bad. And if you see me do it twice this episode, I'll explain why later. Vibes are good. Welcome back. .NET Fills. Hold on. Forgot the. Oh God, what a weekend it was. I don't really get personal on here. My hair's a mess. It was a weekend. I was away all weekend, which is why this episode's coming at you now. I was away. I was at Knoebels all weekend with my girlfriend and her family and a bunch of friends of theirs, and it was a very nice weekend. I got home about an hour ago. It was a very, very eventful weekend. If I look sunburnt, it's because I was out in the sun all weekend. So, this episode is going to be broken into two parts. I've decided. Part one is going to be talking about the Cubs series, and then part two is going to be talking about the D-back series. So, if my hair looks different, if my beard looks shorter, or if I just sound different in the next half, you'll know why, because this is currently being recorded on Monday, and the series against the D-backs just started. So we're going to talk this one all the way through about the Cubs series and then preview the D-back series and then talk about the D-back series on, right after. For you, it'll be a couple days for me, but right after for you. So it'll be lit. So to start, got some headlines to talk about. The Phillies won the series 2 out of 3, which is a damn miracle after how it started and also how they played against the Cubs last year. So, some headlines to begin. Derek Hall was transferred to the 60-day IL. However, Rob Thompson said that he was making strides getting back there. I think that move literally was to make room on the 40-man for Dylan Covey, whom the Phillies claimed off waivers from the Dodgers, who's actually going to start tomorrow. Has a career 6.54 ERA. So what possibly could go wrong, right? And then, the Phillies have the second best bullpen in baseball since May 7th. So take that for what you will. But we all know that the Phillies' problems aren't the starting aren't the bullpen, rather. It is the starting rotation. So let's get right into it. Game 1, Cubs 10, Phillies 1. Not a lot of good to talk about in this game. Actually, I lied. There is. But the Phillies took the lead in the first inning on a Nick Castellanos sac fly. And then after that, the wheels fell off. Ranger fell off. He was out after 2 innings. It was very disappointing to see, but not surprising. I'm giving Ranger a lot more leeway, mostly, because this was his second start. It wasn't pretty. He wasn't able to get out of the second inning, and he was killed a lot with like liners, blue pit, just wasn't the cleanest inning of baseball, and it was disappointing to see, especially because this Cubs team really isn't that good. They have guys, you know, you have Matt Mervis, you have Dansby Swanson, you have guys on this team who are good, but like as a whole product, they're not that good, but which made this game very, very disappointing and very frustrating, especially because Phillies coming into this very disappointing for losing 4 straight. And at this time, it was 5 straight. And they just looked lost. They looked no direction. The rotation was bad. The bullpen was actually not bad, but it's the runners in scoring position again is their problem. And they fixed it later in this series once we get to game 2 and not really game 3, but they had a clutch hit. It was more or less the same stuff again and again and again with this team. It's just they get guys on and can't do anything about it. And in this game, they were playing from behind. I mean, 4 runs isn't a huge thing to overcome. I mean, it is, but like with the talent this Phillies team has, you have Casty, you have Schwartz, Bomer, you have Stott, who played in this game. You had Harper, for God's sakes, Turner, who has been massively disappointing, as we all know and all heard in the last episode about how done I am with Trey Turner until he gives me a reason not to be. You think 4 runs isn't bad. You're like, okay, we could come back. Yes, it's annoying, but we got the guys in place. Our bullpen's been pretty good. And speaking of bullpen, I want to give a shout out to Jeff Hoffman in 6 innings, has 11 strikeouts, has 0 ERA, had tackled 2 innings in this game to keep it close. So Philly's got to think like, okay, you have the bullpen guys coming in, Hoffman to take down the 3rd and 4th inning, clean, give us a chance to climb back against Stroman. And obviously they couldn't. Then the wheels kind of fell off in the 5th inning when Eric Ullman made his Phillies debut. He gave up 4 runs, only 1 earned, but just a sloppy inning. And then another guy it's not close at this point. It's 8-1 at this point. Andrew Vasquez tackled 2 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, 2 strikeouts. Kimbrel, which I have a highlight on Kimbrel. If you take out his Dodgers blow up, where he allowed 2 runs and 4 runs, he has a 1.80 ERA. And to even go back further, he has been scoreless in 12 of his last 14 appearances. So, and I'm going to talk about Taijuan Walker later, but Kimbrel's been more good than bad recently, and I think that's huge. I think everybody kind of had the tainted tainted taste in their mouth after his rocky start, and especially looking at that Dodgers series. But ever since then, he's been pretty locked down, or shut down, and locked in. And I got to give him credit. I mean, I wasn't excited about the Craig Kimbrel signing, but he's been, again, like I said, more good than bad for this Phillies team. He's been in clutch situations because of the Alvarado injury. He's filled in very well. And guys like Hoffman, who they claimed off waivers from the Reds, I believe, was another guy who's been tackling pretty big innings for them and to a lot of success. So, it kind of goes back to what I said in the headlines about the Phillies bullpen being the 2nd best in baseball since May 7th. I mean, when you have guys coming out of there like Hoffman, like Vasquez, like Kimbrel, shout out to Cody Clemens because he tackled 2/3 of an inning in this game. They're a good bullpen. It's just the starters have been so inconsistent and bad that the bullpen gets taxed pretty easily. And obviously it's easier for a bullpen ERA to be imploded because they're only pitching so many innings. So I got to give a shout out to them. Eric Ullman, I was very disappointed in. I had not high hopes, but I thought he was going to be a guy who was going to be able to tackle 2 innings in this game, or even potentially start on Tuesday before the Phillies claimed Dylan Covey off waivers. So I was very disappointed in Eric Ullman. He was since sent back down to AAA, and Junior Marte was brought up. But it just was an annoying game. One of those games where you have a chance to win game 2 because that offense for the other team is kind of cooked. I don't know why it always happens, but it always does. And luckily it did. And that is a perfect transition to game 2. Phillies 12, Cubs 3. My player of the game, I don't know why I said it like that, but was Aaron Nola. He was Aaron Nola in this game. He had 10 strikeouts across 7 innings. Really didn't get hit all that hard. His only earned runs were a homer by Dansby Swanson in the 6th inning. So Nola really looked like Nola because, before I get into the Nola rant, I looked at my notes and I thought, well, actually, all right, let me collect myself a little bit. When you have a game where Kyle Schwarber hits a grand slam in the 1st and Cody Clemens 2-run homer in the 1st to make it 6-0. All Phillies fans are like, all right, we got a 6-0 lead. But then you realize that this has happened twice before with Aaron Nola. You had the game 1 of the entire season, and then you had that blow up against the Rangers. And then not too long ago against the Dodgers, where the Phillies were up 5-0, and the Phillies blew that lead. So maybe lucky number 6 is Nola's lucky number because he was locked in from the start. I even texted a bunch of my guys, a bunch of my friends, and I was like, how does Nola make this a 1-run game? Because we all have seen this. We've seen this show before. We've seen it. We all know how it happens. We all have seen it. And how does it happen? Nola said, it ain't happening. Chief. We are locked in today. We are locked in. Nola was awesome in this game. His stuff was dancing all over his place. He had that two-seamer riding in to lefties and away against righties. It was awesome to see. He was sitting like 94, 95 again, which again is awesome to see, especially, the velocity worries in the early part of the season. It seems like maybe he's corrected some of them. And Aaron Nola has looked good. I mean, you got to give him credit. And speaking of guys who look good, and let me talk about the opposite, is Trey Turner. Trey Turner got not benched, but was left out of the lineup in this game. Trey Turner has like a 680 OPS. He's batting 250. It's nothing with him. I don't think I've ever seen a superstar, and Trey Turner is a superstar. I don't think I've ever seen a superstar fall off as quickly as Trey Turner has. I feel like he, gave his all in the WBC, and now since it's not high leverage games, he's like, whatever. I got my money. That's just how it feels. I know that's obviously not how it is. I know it's frustrating for him too, but I don't know how to explain it at this point. We're almost in June. I'm hoping for a June turnaround similar to how Schwarber is, but I'm not holding my breath. He's on this hit streak, but Matt Saporsky pointed this out to me. I feel like he might be the only guy in baseball history where his average gets lower on a ridiculous hit streak like he is. It's just nothing anymore. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's like a mental thing, if he's overthinking stuff, but figure it out, man. Like if I'm, Rob Thompson, and if I'm Kevin Long, I'm giving him a couple days off. I'm breaking down the simplicity of a swing. If anybody can fix Trey Turner, it's gonna be Kevin Long, and you just got to figure it out. Like I can't emphasize how important Trey Turner is to this team, especially with Rhys Hoskins out for the season. It just feels like he is trying to compensate so much because of the expectation that he has. But you also got to realize you don't have to be the superstar here. Yes, we paid you like a superstar, but Bryce Harper is here, who's the superstar of this town. Kyle Schwarber is a cult hero. Nick Castellanos has continued to swing a hot bat. JT Realmuto is a legend here. I don't want to say legend, but he's a guy. Like Trey Turner is at the bottom of that pecking order when it comes to dudes being in this lineup, and it just feels like it's empty swings and just a lot of swing and miss. And if you want to get Trey Turner out, just throw him something out of the strike zone or up at his hands, and he's gonna get out. Like it's ice blue on his baseball savant page, because he's just I don't get it. I don't get it. I liked him sitting. I just would have wished he would have sat today too, or the other day. But it just is just nothing. I mean, even in game 3, went 1 for 4. Like I'm expecting like 2 for 4, 3 for 4 from Trey Turner, and it's just nothing. And I know I sound like a broken record here, but it's just I don't know. But the offense looked great. They were actually adding on after the big inning, which was huge. I didn't know you were allowed to add on after the big inning. So it's really, really nice to see that. And then we get to game 3, a game which I say we had a good old fashioned pitcher's duel. We had Steele, I forget his first name. It's not Justin, is it? I think it might be Justin. Regardless, we had Steele going up against Taijuan Walker on 3 days rest. And I got to give a shout out to Taijuan Walker. He's been, like I said, more good than bad. Talking about Kimbrel, and I mentioned Taijuan Walker earlier. If you take out that San Francisco Giants start, he has a 2.11 ERA in his past 4 starts, and it's probably even better now with this start. He went 5 1/3, 2 hits, no earned runs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. Like, that's really good and huge for Taijuan Walker coming off 3 days rest. I thought it was a great performance, and I mentioned Turner in these notes again. And this was kind of a nothing burger of a game. It was a pitcher's duel. It was just who's going to make the first mistake. And it luckily was the Cubs. We get to the seventh inning. Bryson Stott and Brandon Marsh did not play in this game because Steele is a lefty. And again, I don't know why we're doing this, but well, it's okay for some lefties, but not for others. Like, why is Marsh and Stott sitting, but Harper and Schwarber aren't if you don't want those guys facing lefties? I don't get it, but whatever. Seems like, unfortunately, it's not going away. So you get to, and I don't mind Brandon Marsh sitting, mostly because he's been struggling the past few weeks. You know, he's hitting like 260 something, and he's been striking out a lot. He was like 1 for his last 18. So I don't mind giving Brandon Marsh a couple days off to kind of collect himself, similar to a certain $300 million shortstop. We should be doing that too, but I digress. We get to the seventh inning. Bryson Stott comes in to pinch hit for Josh Harrison, hits a 2-run pinch hit home run, and the crowd goes wild. And T-Mac on the call was great, and Kruk is just great. And then we get to the eighth inning with Brogdon and Soto tackling down that inning. And then Kimbrel gives up a home run to Christopher Morel, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Then walks the next guy. I'm like, oh, here we go. And then he shuts the door for career save $399 for dirty Craig Kimbrel. And like I've said, I trust this guy. I trust Craig Kimbrel, and I'm sure that will not be taken out of context if and when the Phillies DFA him. But what was I going to say? Oh, the pitching wise, I mentioned Walker. Dominguez went picked up in the sixth inning. After Walker got the first out, Dominguez went 2/3, a walk and a strikeout. Matt Strahm, 1 inning, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Like I mentioned, Brogdon and Soto and Kimbrel closing out the game. So it was a very, very well pitched game. It was awesome. The Phillies bullpen continues to be dominant. And like I said, Taijuan Walker has been more good than bad recently. It's just that fifth starter spot right now is really up in the air. You know, I thought with Ranger coming back that Bailey Falter could have figured some stuff out and maybe, but no, we're now stuck with Dylan Covey. So it's in God's hands now, I guess, about what we're going to see from Dylan Covey. But I'm sure it's not going to be good, which transitions to perfectly to the series preview against the Arizona Diamondbacks, a team that is honestly one of my favorite teams to watch. They're a very young, fun team, great pitching on all fronts. The offense is great. You have, Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte. You have Evan Longoria on that team. You have Gurriel's on that team now. It was the Blue Jays trade. You have Gurriel on that team. Like, I love, and especially the guy we're facing in Game 3 on Wednesday, Zach Gallen, is one of my favorite pitchers in the entire league. A guy who I wish the Phillies traded for a couple years ago. But preview, tonight we have Zach Wheeler versus Tommy Henry. We have Dylan Covey versus Ryan Nelson, and then the rubber matches Ranger Suarez versus Zach Gallen. So I'm expecting a series loss. I just don't have a lot of faith in Dylan Covey, and Zach Gallen is a dog. Like, Zach Gallen is so good, and I hate that I have to root against him on Wednesday because I love watching Zach Gallen pitch. He's a stud. So it's going to be a tough series, but knowing this team, they'll freaking sweep them. But I would say we'll be back on Wednesday, but now I am going to transition to the Diamondbacks series. It's going to be a split second for you, so I'm going to save all my ending, closing stuff for then. So enjoy my reaction to the Phillies sweep of the Diamondbacks. Listen. I know what I said. I know, it's a sweep. Wasn't a sweep. We lost the series, but holy hell, what a win today. I got to get used to not having to do the intro because this is part 2 of an episode. If you can't tell, the hair's up. The shirt's the same. I'm going to wear this every time until I get new ones. But If you can't hear, I was screaming a lot because of the way the game ended today, which was a W. And it don't matter, what they did in the game 1 and game 2. What matters what you did today. You come into this game, you're losing 3 straight games. You lost the series finale, or excuse me. Wait, did they lose on Sunday? No, you were losing 2 straight, right? Yeah. You lose the first 2 games of the series. I'm all over the place right now. I just got home from work and the Fightins pulled out a W. You lose the first 2 games of this series. Very demoralizing. Both games were very kick in the gut-y. And then today you go down 5-0 and you're like, all right, another sweep. Next series is easy, right? No, you got the Atlanta Braves. And then, you pull out a huge comeback win today. It was an annoying series, yes, but a series that ended on a very positive note. And hopefully that note is this is the point where the season turns around, because it's been painful to watch. Recently, Phillies have lost 7 of 10. They've just looked not great, but it all starts with one game, and that hopefully is today. It was today's game. So some headlines for today. Yes, I had headlines at the beginning of the episode, but that was recorded on Monday. Now it's Wednesday. Yes, it's one big episode. I'm going to keep referring to that because it's a new concept to me of not doing it on the same day of one big one. So I did 20 minutes and then however long this is going to be. So if it's a bigger episode, you know why. So Marsh was scratched from last night's game with right shoulder inflammation, but he obviously played today. He actually had a couple hits, which is good to see, especially he's been very, very cold. So it's good to see him hopefully kind of snap out of that cold streak he's been on. Alvarado threw a bullpen today. We haven't heard word, or I haven't seen word about how that felt, but he hopes for an early June return, which would be huge for this bullpen, who has actually been really, really good. And I touched on that a little bit in the last episode. Well, same episode, but on Monday. Excuse me. I'm very hoarse. I was screaming a lot. And then Trey Turner, we'll get back to Trey Turner. So I had a whole thing planned. And of course, he pulls the bag over my head and did what he did today. And the same thing with Jeff Hoffman, man. Come on. I praised Jeff Hoffman at the beginning of this episode, and then he's sucked ever since. Gave up the run in Monday's game, walked the bases loaded today, makes me look stupid, and I don't like looking stupid. Anyway, let's get to the D-back series. There's a lot to talk about. Start with game 1. The Phillies dropped it 6-3. They went down 3-0 into the second inning, and I'm like, oh, okay. So you had Lourdes Gurriel with a home run, and then it was just, single, double. It was just annoying because yeah, and then the Phillies do what they do best, is get the leadoff man on and then do nothing with it against the guy who has like a 5 ERA. So, really happy the Phillies stayed true to their roots, knew where they were coming from. It was just a lot of back and forth. And then, they looked alive in the 4th. You had Kyle Schwarber with a home run, and then a batter later, you had Bryson Stott with a home run. So the Phillies are in striking distance, 3-2 now. So I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, like the guys are rolling. Bryson Stott has been red hot recently. I don't have the numbers in front. Actually, let me get the numbers. But I mean, he's got to be hitting like really well, right? He's got to be. Hold on. Hold the phone, guys. What has Bryson Stott been doing? I just wanted to start recording. Usually I do a lot of these notes beforehand, but Trey Turner, or not Trey Turner, Jesus. In his last 7 games, Bryson Stott is hitting .360 with a .720 slug. So, yeah, that's pretty good. So he had a homer, and then immediately Pavin Smith had a home run off of Zach Wheeler. who is starting to worry me a little bit. Like, yes, he went 6 innings. Like, the length is there for Zach Wheeler, but his performance has been lackluster. But, he's sitting mid 90s as opposed to like 98, 99, 100. Like, we're used to him. Like, we're used to him. And I don't know if they're trying to do the same thing that they've done with Aaron Nola, which is not gas yourself early in the season and save a lot of the bullets for the end of the year, ramping up wise. I know a guy like Justin Verlander does that. I'm sure a lot of those older guys, Max Scherzer, and maybe even Garrett Cole hits triple digits. But point is, ramp up, and then it kind of settles in a bit, and then the wheels. You had an RBI from Trey Turner, which didn't know that was allowed, hitting with runners in scoring position. Did not know that was a thing. And then, like I mentioned, Jeff Hoffman gives up back-to-back doubles, makes it 5-3, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And then there was an error in the ninth inning that led to the sixth run, and then the Phillies also had an opportunity. You had Trey Turner walk, and then Nick Castellanos struck out. So it was a very annoying game. And, I kind of mentioned and touched on it a little bit with Zach Wheeler, 6 innings, 8 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, only 3 strikeouts. So I don't really know what to say about Zach Wheeler. Like, he's been fine. Like, he has a 4.11 ERA. Like, if he's the 5, he's good, but he's supposed to be your 1B or 1A, however you want to phrase it, and he just hasn't been that. It just seems like he's always given up 3 runs in every start. And like I said, yes, the length is there. I'm not worried about him going deep into games. I'm worried about him. The quality of innings have not been very good for Zach Wheeler. So it's just something to keep an eye on. Like, he hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been great. Like, he's just been fine. Like, he's been a fine pitcher. It reminds me of the guy we saw with the Mets when he was a member of the Mets. It just is meh right now. But again, I'm not pushing the panic button yet with Zach Wheeler. Sorry, there's. Okay. I'm not pushing the panic button yet. Hoffman, I mentioned, gave up his first run of the season. A guy in this bullpen, and he had a big series because he tackled some innings, but a guy I've been very impressed with is Andrew Vasquez. Like, I feel like he is the most underrated player on this team. He's just been so reliable. Like, I feel like he's a guy who goes out there and he's just going to throw 2 innings, like 1 hit, like 2, 3 strikeouts. Like, I am a big Andrew Vasquez guy, and call me crazy, but I mean, like, his numbers are really good. Like, let me see. He's sporting a 1.29 ERA in 22 and a third. He's putting a 1.21 ERA in 22 and a third, 20 strikeouts, a 1.03 whip. Like, he's been really good. He has a 0.9 ERA in his past 10 innings pitched, 5 hits, only 1 earned, 13 strikeouts. Like, he's been good. He was in San Francisco, and he was a part of the Blue Jays, which he was not very good in a Blue Jays uniform, but he's been a huge part of this Phillies bullpen so far, and I've been very, very, very impressed with him. I mentioned Hoffman. Bellotti has kind of been a disaster. He has a 5.68 ERA. Just, I don't know. It just seems like even when he has clean innings, I put that in big quotes, clean innings, it's like painful. It's always like 20, 25 pitches. He's on a lot of 3-2 counts. Guys are fouling off a lot of pitches. So I don't know how to explain Andrew Bellotti, what's going on with him. I hope he figures it out, because that would be like super neat if like Andrew Bellotti was Andrew Bellotti. But right now we have Hoffman, who's been good, Vasquez, who's been good. Matt Strahm has been really, really good. Craig Kimbrell, we'll get to him today because that was awesome what he did in the 10th inning. Even Soto's been great. Dominguez, we unfortunately have to get to him. But add in Alvarado, I mean, Very, very good bullpen. And the Phillies bullpen has been good. It's been one of the, if not the only highlight of this team so far, has been the bullpen, which didn't know that was allowed. I thought Dave Dombrowski didn't know how to build a bullpen, but I guess it's not really Dave Dombrowski. He's got Ani in his ear. He has Sam Fuld being like, get this guy, get this guy, get this guy because of this guy because of this, and whatever. Smart baseball minds in that Phillies front office, which again, I did not know that was allowed. Anyway, we get to game 2. The Phillies lost 4-3, right? Yeah. Yeah, 4-3. Yeah, 4-3. Sorry. And it was a gut-wrenching game. I think, and I said this to a lot of people, I think last night's game was the most heartbreaking game of the year. It was the most painful loss of the year, in my opinion. And everyone's going to be like, well, what about the Dodgers games? Yeah, but when you get bludgeoned, you're like, is what it is, But when you're in a game like this and the rug is basically ripped out from under you after doing what you did, it kind of is annoying. And it's a gut punch, especially with the way it happened. But let's get to the good first. Matt Strahm started this game. He was an opener for, I want to say Britton Covey, but that's the Eagles player, for Dylan Covey. Yes. Dylan Covey. It's Dylan Covey. Hold on. I'm all over the place today. I do apologize. I'm usually a lot better fluidity wise, but I just wanted to start recording because I want to edit these together and get this up as soon as I can. Summary box. It was Dylan Covey. I was right. Eat it. Yeah, Dylan Covey was coming in relief of Matt Strahm. Matt Strahm went 2 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs. Those 2 earned runs came off of the Gabriel Moreno 2-run home run in the second inning. But then the Phillies did something that I didn't know that was allowed, which was answer right back. Cody Clemens answered right back with an RBI double. I kind of want to highlight Cody Clemens a little bit because I even mentioned it in my notes. I have been in love, not in love with Cody Clemens, but like he is kind of hot. But Cody Clemens has been really, really good for the Phillies recently. Obviously, he was brought over in the Gregory Soto trade that sent Nick Maton and Matt Bierling to Detroit. But I mean, in his last 7 games, even in his last 15 games, he's hitting .302 with a .628 slug in 43 at-bats, 13 hits, 4 home runs. Like, he has been exceptional in the role. Like, he has performed in the limited role that he's had. And I think Rob Thompson is kind of rewarding that a little bit, especially with Edmundo Sosa struggling. Not struggling, but compared to what we know Edmundo Sosa can do. I think it's good to see that Thompson is rewarding that by putting him at first a lot more. You're seeing a little more boom at third base. So shout out to Cody Clemens, the second best Clemens in baseball history. Some would even say the best two-way player in baseball. Couldn't think of another guy who's better. And then followed up in the so let me get to Dylan Covey. Covey went 5 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. He flirted with danger a lot in this game. I'm not, you read that line, you're like, oh, he did pretty well. There was a lot of danger that was woven in and out of it, given in each given inning. In the third inning began with, I think he walked a guy and then gave up a triple to make it 3-1. I'm like, oh, sweet mother of God, it's going to be one of those games. But he really settled in really, really well. That was the only earned run he gave up. I was really impressed with him. I think he earned another shot at being I think he earned another shot of being a starter in this rotation. And I think that's the plan. I don't know if they're going to do Matt Strahm as the opener again and then lead into Covey, or if they're going to let Covey start outright. I think the reason they wanted Strahm to start was because maybe the lineup construction that the D-backs would have thrown out, would have favored righties. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but maybe Covey's numbers against righties are a little better. Therefore, starting Strom was the better idea. But if teams start to know what's about to come, they'll just start their lefties and just deal with Strom for 2 innings and then deal with Covey afterwards. So it's something to keep an eye out on. And then we get to the 7th inning, which was the inning, 7th and 8th inning, which broke me. The high and to immediate lows. Get to the 7th inning, Phillies are down 3-1. The aforementioned Cody Clemens comes in, RBI fielder's choice to make it 3-2. And then you have Alec Bohm coming in to pinch hit for Josh Harrison, right? It was Josh Harrison. It was Harrison or Sosa. I forget which one started last night. It was Sosa. My apologies. And Alec Bohm did what Alec Bohm does, which was clutch. I think Alec Bohm has taken the crown as the most clutch player on the Phillies. What about Bryce Harper? Yes, Bryce Harper still exists, but right now, if I'm in a spot that has, a runner on second and 1 out, I'm putting my money on Alec Bohm to come through with a base hit. We saw it today. Did not waste any time in that last at-bat that won the Phillies the game. Ties it up with an RBI pinch hit single. So then we're brand new ball game. It's tied up. We have our dominant closer. We don't really have a closer, but our dominant relief pitcher coming in Seranthony Dominguez, and immediately gives it up. Gives up a triple, and then Corbin Carroll hits a single. Really? We couldn't live with that high. It couldn't have been like they got the first 2 outs. I don't know which would I would have preferred, if they got the first 2 outs and then they break my heart, or if it happened the way it did and whatever. But Seranthony was a disaster in that game. Looking at his line, I mean, he didn't record an out, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk. He was kind of a disaster. And then you had to bring in Gregory Soto to clean up, and he got out of it. But, I mean, are we pressing the panic button on Seranthony Dominguez? I don't know. His season ERA is sitting at 4.26. I really don't know what to make with Seranthony Dominguez. I don't know if this is just a cold stretch. I don't know if this is the guy we're going to get from here on out. I really don't know, but they need him to step up, especially with Alvarado out. And guys have stepped up. I mentioned Hoffman. I mentioned Strom. I mentioned Vasquez. Bilotti has kind of been a disaster. Marte is throwing the ball better. I'm still not all in on Junior Marte like I was at the beginning of the year. But Craig Kimbrell, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, has been more good than bad. And we saw that today. Like, there's guys in this bullpen that luckily we don't have to rely heavily on Seranthony. Even Brogdon pitched a couple innings today. Like, Brogdon has stepped up as a guy that I feel like I can trust. And it's good that we have those guys as opposed to last year when we had to ride the tails of Alvarado and Dominguez throughout the entire playoffs. And maybe we're seeing the ramifications of that with Alvarado already on the IL and Seranthony still trying to figure himself out in the season. So again, relievers are tricky because relievers can have very, very good years and then be terrible the next. We've seen it all the time with closers. You look at a guy like Josh Hader, who was, dominant, and then last year was kind of bad, and now he's back to being dominant again. Like, it just might be one of those years for Seranthony. But again, like I mentioned, it's good that the Phillies don't have guys, the Phillies have guys in this bullpen that you don't need Seranthony to be that guy anymore. It would be great if he could get back to that, but he's not a guy that we have to ride the coattails of. And now, without further ado, we get to the lone win in this series. Phillies win 6-5. My player of the game has to be Trey Turner. It hurts a little bit, but for the bit, it's got to be Trey Turner with that home run. So let's get to it. Immediate thought, Ranger Suarez, 5 innings, 5 hits, 5 earned runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Kind of ironic, all the fives, and he's number 55, whatever. His season ERA is at 9.82. They need him to get right quick. I'm still giving him leeway. I don't hate, I'm not saying he's garbage. It's annoying, yes, but this is his third start of the year. I give him one more start. And then if he sucks in the next start, then I'm going to be pissed. But until then, I'm giving him leeway, and he still went 5 innings. It was just, they go down early like they have for a while, So in terms of scoring, it was almost immediate. Corbin Carroll had a double, and then it was almost immediate. It was Marte single, Corbin Carroll double, and then Emmanuel Rivera had that ground out in the first. And then Ranger proceeded to get a ground out and then a strikeout of Evan Longoria. And then the Phillies again do what they do best, was go down 1-2-3, and then an easy top of the second. And then we get to the hell third. Rivera again had a double. And then Evan Longoria had his 2008 Tampa Bay Rays revenge game by hitting a home run to make it 5-0. And, when I was seeing this, I was at work, but I was keeping track on my phone. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, really, on a getaway day for both teams? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? Is this team serious? I had like an entire thing planned. And then, of course, they did what they did, but I'm glad they did what they did, but still, like, there's issues in this team, and I think the glaring obvious one is the starting rotation. Nola has been better. Wheeler has been fine. Suarez hasn't been good. Walker, like I mentioned before, has been more good than bad. We don't know what we're going to get with Dylan Covey, but he was really good. He's fine for a 5 innings and 1 run. We don't know what we're going to get out of him and on a 5-day basis, but we hope it's good. I pray it's good. That'd be great. But and then we get to the 6th, and this is kind of when the Phillies start chipping away. You lead off with a single from Harper and then 2 quick outs, and I'm like, we tried. And then Cody Clemens again with a single to make it 1st and 2nd, and then Alec Boehm drove him in. Brandon Marsh had an RBI single to make it 5-3. And then the Phillies kind of flirted with danger in the 7th inning with Vasquez kind of had a let off with a single from Ketel Marte, and then Corbin Carroll got out, and then they went to Connor Brogdon. Rivera walked, and then there was a wild pitch, and then Rojas walked, and I'm like, for the love of God, Brogdon, don't do this to me. And then luckily they got out of it. But I think the 7th inning was nearly my breaking point. Stott singled, and then Trey Turner struck out on a ball that bounced into the other batter's box. And I was like, all right, I'm having my Trey Turner thing on the pod today. Like, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it with this guy. I had an entire thing planned, but he redeemed himself. And then we get to the 9th inning, which made me so happy. I'll never forget where I was. I was at my workstation, and I get a text from Matt Hartman, and I see the Twitter notification, and I'm like, what just happened? Either Trey Turner won the game or we are tied. And then 2 quick outs, and I'm like, are you kidding me? It's against the guy who has a guy in Jose Ruiz who has like a 5 ERA. Are we seriously going to have a 1-2-3 9th inning? Bryson Stott doing clutch things, had a single, and then Trey freaking Turner, 2-run home run. It doesn't matter what you did the past 10, 15, 40 games, Trey. It's what you did today. And what did you do, Trey? Yeah, big ball swinging, Trey. You did it, bud. You did it. You tied the game up. What a way to be, Trey. You tied the game up, bud. And then Harper walked, and I'm like, are we about to win this? And then Casti, I kind of want to touch on Castellanos a little bit. He has kind of been slowing down a little bit. In his past 7 games, he's only hitting 192. I think this is just, I'm not hitting the panic button with Nick Castellanos at all. I think this is just him getting cold. People get cold. You know, we saw it with Stott and Marsh, and Turner continues to be cold, but even Schwarber's starting to heat up. But it's just one of those things that happen. We're in a Nick Castellanos cold streak. And then we get to the 10th inning, and this is where I became a Craig Kimbrel guy. Craig Kimbrel comes in, got the ghost runner on second, which, by the way, I love the ghost runner on second rule. I love that rule. I don't care. Trash talk me all you want. Say what you will about me. I am a big rule guy. I love that rule. So Christian Walker flies out. Idiot should have bunted. And then we got into a little scrum with Josh Rojas. It was 0-2. Kimbrel was ready. The batter wasn't in Rojas. And then the umpires convened. They were being like, was he in the box in time? And the replay showed he wasn't. So he should have been called out there. But then the Diamondbacks manager came out and was like, and then whatever. So it was reversed. And then the umpire had the balls to call a ball on Craig Kimbrel because Kimbrel wasn't ready. Then Topper's out there getting in the umpire's face, very angry. And then what did Kimbrel do? Threw a pitch, ball, 2-2. Then he struck him out with a slider, with a little slide piece. And I was like, yes. That is Craig Kimbrel. That is Atlanta Braves Craig Kimbrel right there. And then Pavin Smith lined out to Cody Clemens, which Clemens, I love the guy. Gonna buy a Cody Clemens jersey at this point. I'm gonna have the Rocket sign him himself. And then we get to the 10th. So Nick Castellanos lead is supposed to be on second, but Dalton Guthrie replaced him, which Dalton Guthrie is just not a Major League Baseball player. He swings a wet noodle at the plate and plays okay defense in center. But until Christian Pache is back and healthy, it's going to be Dalton Guthrie out there. So whatever. They decide to walk Kyle Schwarber, which I thought was interesting because Schwarber's been not great and he's a boomer bust guy. So I'm not really sure I get walking Schwarber in that situation, especially to get the Clemens, who, like I mentioned, is batting .360 in his last 7 games. So interesting choice. Clemens then walked, and then they had a meeting on the mound, and then Daddy Alec Bohm said, we're going home, and on that flight to Atlanta, happy. Omer hits an opposite field shot, not a home run, but just this RBI single, and Guthrie scored, and the Phillies win 6-5. And like I said, my player of the game was Trey Turner, and now we get to the unfortunate series. The first meeting between the Philadelphia Phillies and the Atlanta Braves happens. It is a 4-game series, which terrifies me, but it's fine. In game 1, we got Aaron Nola versus to be determined. Game 2, we have Taijuan Walker. Game 3, we have Zach Wheeler, and I'm assuming game 4 is TBD. Okay. So the starters for Atlanta haven't been announced yet, but we have Nola, Wheeler, and Walker, and probably Covey, I would assume, would be game 4. My split? Ooh, is that too much to ask for? The Atlanta Braves are a wagon of a team. And they're so good, dude. Matt Olson, Sean Murphy, Austin Riley, Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna Jr., Marcell Ozuna's even been fine. Eddie Rosario. God, that team is so good. It's not fair. God, I hate the Atlanta Braves, but I got to respect them. What they do. But their starters are kind of outside of Strider, which I think we're missing Strider, which is huge because I think he pitched last night. Or maybe we'll get him the last game of the series. But if we miss Strider, that's pretty big. Then I think we have an even bigger chance to split the series. So big series coming up. Try to split out there. It's going to be a very, very painful series, unfortunately, but hopefully we can split. He wants to ask for, maybe. Come on. But that's going to do it for me. I'm going to be back on Sunday. I hope you enjoyed the super extended episode. I don't know how long it's going to be, probably like 40, 45 minutes maybe. But yeah, thank you guys for watching and listening. Feel free to follow me on all my socials down below. And we are going to be back on Sunday. So I will see you then.